stands to reason that we should, we should be able to set up our own scenario, and that includes picking the parents. And there are documented cases. There are cases of children in the golden years who say, I chose you, Mummy, because you're sweet and kind, or because you could help me learn the piano, or something. Or so anyway, they will choose their parents. We will all choose our parents, without. Even if they're bad parents, we would have chosen them because we needed to have a life with bad parents.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense. Gives you a lot to think about, Gordon. It really does.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
It does. And what is, what is interesting about the books it's fairly early days, but the encouraging signs we're getting, are that it kind of turns into a real family experience, and everybody gets involved and starts thinking about this without, we hope, there being any trauma associated with it. This is one thing, actually. This is quite interesting. Is that initially I had on the front cover the subtitle saying, "Awaken your children's past life memories." And there were a number of people that got really scared. They said, "Hey, this is Pandora's box, man. You start digging in there might be awful things come out, like maybe the children will suddenly remember a violent death, and so I thought, oh gosh, this is certainly not the idea." And I don't, with the stories, I don't really don't think it would happen. But it was that word "awaken" that really scared people. So I changed it to "explore."
Oh yeah, because "awaken" makes it sound like the book is. I hate to say it, it's a book that will awaken. You could take that a little bit wrong. So
exactly. Awakening is really, is really a dangerous word, and I certainly didn't mean it in that sense. And so that's why, explore means much more what we're talking about. And we now say, explore children's past life memories and detect potential hidden talents. Because kids, there are cases of children who stumble upon, let's say, playing the piano, and turn out to be really wonderful pianists.
Uh-huh.
But it happens. It seems it could have happened by chance, although there's no real thing as chance. But anyway, but it seems almost sort of accidental that they came upon it. Whereas if you read these stories to children, you encourage them to indicate something about what they might like to do later, or things they're interested in. And in fact, at the end of the book, at the end of the children's book, there's a colouring page section, so they can colour the penguins, and when they're colouring the different 7 penguins of the stories, they can go over what they said and what they did, and then after that there's a whole set of little cartoon characters playing different sports. So there's baseball and tennis and skating and all this. And you say to the children, well, just have a look at those and choose the 3 sports you'd like to play, and colour them. So the kids colour them, and so you watch them and you see which one they go to first, And then after that, there's a double-page spread of musical instruments, and say, which goes from piano to guitar to sitar to various Middle Eastern instruments. And so, sort of draw a circle around the instrument that which you think you would like the best, and then the last section, you have a whole load of cartoons of people doing different jobs, like a pilot and a nurse and a doctor and carpenter, or et cetera, and you ask them to colour in the three that they find the most attractive. I mean, at the age of 6, they're not going to show what, or it's unlikely anyway, what profession they ultimately will get into. And in fact, our little girl there with the house and the postman, they asked her, what would you like to be when you grow up? And she looked at them and she said, I don't know. She said, what a stupid question. I'm only 6. So not everybody's going to know what they want to be, of course. But it's a game. I mean, and the important thing is that it makes them look outwards after having had this experience of the inwards with the penguins. So it kind of puts it into perspective, and then parents can see whether or not there's something that needs to be followed up.
I just wonder, like some kids, like they say, "Hey, I was a attorney in my prior life," and then they grow up, become a attorney again, or a doctor or something, and it just makes you wonder, I had one of my 8 kids, insisted that he was reincarnated. And he was in World War II and all that stuff. And then, then again, I guess you're pretty much accurate on the age. I think like 6 or 7 or 8 years old, it was like, they didn't even remember it. But they were, before that, they were talking about, a war and fighting the Japanese and all that stuff. And then, and at that age, I wasn't watching war TV shows. I was watching the Three Stooges and shows like that on my TV around the house. So I don't know. I don't even know how he could have picked anything like that up.
Yeah. Oh no, it's I think there's somewhere on the net there's something called Kids Say the Darndest Things, and.
No, actually, it used to be a TV show called that, actually. Art Linkletter. Yeah. And some of them actually did.
Actually, there used to be a TV show, wasn't there? Was it Ghost in My Child?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it was, I think it's gone off the air now, or maybe several years ago, well, 3 or 4 years ago. But, I mean, they appeared to have some really great cases there.
Yeah.
It's a pity that show stopped. But anyway, I don't know if there's anything similar. But still, there are lots of radio stations who are interested in these topics. So that's great.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I find, honestly, Gordon, I find that the paranormal thing is actually growing and is more accepted now than it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago. I remember the old talk show with Art Bell, doing the paranormal. And I think now you get on all the because you have to blame it really on the internet, because now you just go onto the computer and you can find anything. And it seems like the paranormal thing, like in Facebook and all these different media things, it's really a hot topic. Anything paranormal and life regressions, being reborn. It's like this one guest I had on said he had one person that was, been reincarnated over 50 times. And again, he documented some of them, and he said it was no way that they could have known the information that they knew. I mean, he said he had to put a lot of research in it to find it, and when he found it, it matched, and that actually scared him.
Sure. Oh no, I mean now, if you just start trailing the paranormal things on YouTube, I mean, gosh, you could sit there for a month. And there are some wacky ideas out there, and some I mean, like what is a bit annoying is that there are some people who post a thing saying, everything shows that the world is going to end tomorrow, and then when tomorrow comes, they update it, and then it's for the next day.
Well, and then it keeps going on and on. But what I feel really bad is some of these people, that have predicted, that the earth is going to end on a such and such date. They actually influenced enough people where some people actually went and killed themselves because they were so terrified, People haven't changed. Do you remember the Orson Welles radio play back in the 30s, War of the Worlds?
Oh yeah, the War of the Worlds.
Yeah, the bad thing is, they at the beginning of the show they announced it was a radio play, and that's what it was, right? But not everybody tuned in at the same time. So here they did an hour teleplay or hour and a half teleplay, and actually people were arming themselves. Some people actually killed themselves because they thought the world was coming to end. And there was one case in the Midwest where the father killed his wife and kids because he thought the Martians were going to come and, kill him. And he didn't want them to suffer. So you look at things like that. People are easily swayed. So even what they read on the internet or watch on YouTube, I mean, like you just mentioned, there's some people like the world's going to come in on such and such date. Well, it doesn't happen. Then they come back and say, well, I misinterpreted. And they change it. There was a famous pastor back a few years ago. It finally died. But he predicted a couple times, the world was going to come in. People sold everything they had, right? Gave the money to him for this church. They didn't have nothing left. And the only thing they had left is on the day they were supposed to be transported up by aliens, right? It never happened. They survived. But one thing is, they were broke. Kevin, do you have a question there for Gordon? Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I can't imagine the day that the world does come to an end and one of those people that you think that are a little bit loony, what they're saying is actually true. They did a little episode on Family Guy. I believe it was one of their first episodes. Family Guy's been out for a long time. Anyways, back in 2001 or 2000, they thought the world was going to end with the Y2K and stuff. So they did a little joke about it, like, oh, the world's going to end.
2012.
Well, no, in the 2000s.
Okay.
Like, the computers were going to crash and stuff. So what happened was Peter, the main character, he hid in his bunker or in the basement with all his family, telling his family, oh, you can't go out and party tonight, blah, 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 the world's going to end. While everyone out partying, they ended up, being in a catastrophe or being in a, what do you call it?
Something happened. Yeah, an event, okay.
And, they survived. The people that were in the basements, doomsday bunkers, they survived,
I don't know. Gordon is no. I don't think, as the Bible said, I'm not an over religious person, but we'll never know when it's going to end. When it ends, it ends. I mean, I think anybody that sits there and says it's going to end tomorrow or on the 25th of March, I mean, it does affect a lot of people because you know what? It goes crazy when somebody says that on YouTube. You start looking at all the hits of the people looking at that, and then the people talking about it is scary.
They start blasting it, and then they start making trends like, oh, it's going to end on this day, and then it goes viral.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, yes, of course. And that's it. It's very dangerous. I mean, because as you say, there can be that kind of outcome. I mean, that's really playing with fire in every sense of the word.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what I like about what I really like about your book, from what I did have a chance to read about, is, it does give the parent, and I think it's educational, like you mentioned, it's educational both for the child, and I think it's actually, I hate to say it, more educational to the parent. Seriously. Because, I mean, if you have a child going around and saying, hey, I was such and such, or I was this person, or I was this famous doctor, and you sit there and go, and then when they go on and on about it, you start wondering, oh, do I have a problem with my child? But then, after you read the book, it gives you more of an influx of, what is actually could be happening. So it kind of comes together. And I mean, you did a very good job with that.
Well, thank you. Well, yeah, but I think it was. I must say, some of these tests we've run, it looks like indeed it could have